You ever trust someone so much, you think they'd never hurt the ones you love? That was me. I'm not a perfect woman. Lord knows I made my share of mistakes in life. But if there's one thing I always held on to, it was my family. I gave them everything I had. My time, my energy, my money. When my daughter fell in love and got married, I thought my heart might burst with pride. I thought I was handing her over to a man who would protect her, love her, make her smile for the rest of her life. But let me tell you something sometimes. The devil doesn't come with horns and a tail. Sometimes he comes with a nice smile, clean shoes, and says yes ma'am to every word you say. At first, everything seemed normal. They were happy, or at least I thought they were. They came to Sunday dinners, they laughed, they shared stories. But then little things started to change. My daughter stopped coming around as much. She said she was busy, she said she was tired, she said she had too much to do. But I'm a mother, I know when something's wrong. Then one afternoon, when I least expected it, my niece came over. She looked nervous, wouldn't meet my eye. I gave her a plate of food, told her to sit down, told her she could tell me anything. And that's when she said something that made my blood run cold. She said, "Auntie, I need to tell you something, but you can't tell anyone I told you." Right then, I knew this wasn't just gossip. I knew this was something heavy. I leaned in and told her, "Baby, whatever it is, you can tell me. I'll keep you safe." But she hesitated. She was scared. And you know what? I could feel her heart beating from across the table. So I reached in my pocket, pulled out $50, slid it across the table, and said, "Here, this is just for being brave enough to tell the truth. Now speak." That's when she told me. She told me my son-in-law, the man I trusted with my baby girl's heart, had been taking my daughter to parties. Not parties where couples go to relax. No, these were parties where he passed her around like she was a drink, just to keep his friends happy. My hand froze halfway to my mouth. I felt like my whole kitchen tilted sideways. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break every plate in my cupboard. But instead, I just sat there and nodded, letting her speak, letting her get it all out. By the time she finished talking, my hands were shaking so bad. I had to grip the edge of the table to stop myself from falling. And right then, I knew one thing: I wasn't going to sit by and let this go. Not this time. I remember the first time I met my son. It was a warm spring day, you know. The kind of day where the air smells like fresh-cut grass and the world feels full of hope. He came over in his best shirt, holding flowers, smiling wide like a man who knew exactly how to charm a mother's heart. He shook my hand firm, looked me in the eye, and called me ma'am. I thought to myself, well, here's a good one. He was polite, respectful, and seemed to care deeply for my daughter. He'd bring her home on time, help her carry the groceries inside, even wash the dishes after Sunday dinners. I told my daughter, "Baby, you picked a good man. He'll take care of you." And for a while, he did. Or at least, he made it look like he did. But here's the thing. About snakes, they know how to stay still in the grass until you're standing right on top of them. It started small, missed family dinners, excuses that didn't quite add up. My daughter's smile got weaker, her eyes looked tired. I'd ask if she was okay, and she'd say, "Mama, I'm fine. Just busy." But a mother always knows. I saw the way she flinched when her phone buzzed. I saw how quiet she got when her husband's name came up. Then, my niece confirmed what I'd feared. You know what that does to a mother's heart? I raised my girl to be strong, to be independent, to know her worth. And this man, this coward, was out there humiliating her, parading her around to his so-called friends like she was nothing but a prize to be shown off. I sat in my kitchen for hours after my niece left, staring at the wall, my $50 still sitting on the table. I thought about every Sunday dinner, every Christmas morning, every moment I spent welcoming that man into my family. I thought about the nights I stayed up late hemming my daughter's wedding dress, the prayers I whispered asking God to bless their marriage, And I thought about how all of that was being trampled on. The next morning, I made up my mind. If he thought he could do this behind my back, he was about to find out who he was dealing with. See, people forget sometimes that older women like me, we might be quiet. We might be gentle, but we're not weak. We carry every scar, every fight, every lesson we've ever survived right in our bones. And if you push us too far, we will push back. After that night, I stopped sleeping properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my daughter's face, tired, defeated, trying to hold it all together while her husband was out there living like a free man. So, I did what any mother with a fire in her chest would do. I started watching, not in a loud, dramatic way, oh no. I stayed quiet. I kept smiling at Sunday dinner, kept making his favorite cornbread, kept asking him about work like I always did. But inside, I was sharp as a knife. I noticed the way he looked at his phone every 5 minutes. I noticed how he started dressing a little fancier on late work nights, and I noticed how my daughter's smile faded just a little bit more every week. One day, when they came over, I accidentally left my glasses on the porch. That way, I had a reason to step outside just as he was getting off a call. And do you know what I heard? Him laughing. Laughing about my daughter. Laughing about how she never asks questions. And how his friends love when she dresses up for them. I stood there, frozen. My fingers were shaking so bad, I almost dropped my glasses. But I didn't say a word. I just walked back inside, sat at the table, and looked at my daughter. She was stirring her tea, staring at the spoon like it might tell her all the answers. And that's when I knew she already knew something was wrong. She just didn't want to face it. That night, I made a decision. If my daughter couldn't protect herself, I would do it for her. The next few weeks were a game of patience. I started asking subtle questions, nothing too direct, just little things to make him sweat. Oh, working late again tonight? Your friends sure see a lot of you these days. You look tired, big night last night. He'd just laugh and shrugged, but I saw the flicker in his eyes every single time. And my daughter? She stayed quiet. But she started sitting next to me at the table instead of him. She started calling me more often. Even for little things like recipes or grocery advice, I could feel her trying to hold on to something, maybe to me, maybe to herself. Finally, I decided it was time. I asked my niece to keep her ears open, and bless her heart, she came through for me. One night, she sent me a message. Mama, she wrote, you were right. He's taking your daughter to those parties again this weekend. And just like that, my quiet watching was over. I wasn't just going to sit by and let my daughter's dignity be dragged through the mud one more night. No, this time, I was going to be there. This time, I was going to see it with my own eyes. And when I was done, they were never going to forget who they were dealing with. That weekend, I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just put on my warmest sweater, tied my scarf around my head, and got on the bus into town. I knew where the party was. My niece told me everything, the address, the time, even the kind of people who would be there. When I got off the bus, my heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. The house was loud, music spilling out onto the street. There were expensive cars parked all around, the kind my daughter could never even dream of driving. I stood outside for a moment, just breathing, letting the fire inside me settle into something sharper. And then, I walked right up to that door and knocked. The man who opened it looked me up and down like I was in the wrong place. Maybe I was, but I didn't care. I'm here for my daughter, I said, calm but firm. He hesitated, then stepped aside. I walked in, and the smell of alcohol and perfume hit me like a wall. People turned to look, confused, an old woman in their world of glitter and noise. But I didn't care about them. I was looking for her, and there she was. My daughter, standing in the corner, drink in hand, dressed up in something she would never wear in her right mind. And next to her, laughing, smiling. hand on her back like she was just some decoration he brought to show off. Something inside me snapped. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I just walked up to them, so slowly that everyone started to notice. The music quieted. The room seemed to shrink. When I reached them, I looked at my daughter first. "Baby," I said softly, "come with me." She blinked, confused, like she wasn't sure if she was dreaming. But then, she saw my face, really saw it, and she put the glass down. He tried to grab her arm, but I turned on him so fast, he froze. "You don't touch her," I said. And the whole room went quiet. But I wasn't done. I reached into my bag and pulled out every single thing I had collected over the last few weeks. Photos, notes, even the voice recording my niece had made of him bragging about her. And I laid it all out on the nearest table. "Do you see this?" I said, my voice shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is what you've been doing. To my daughter. To your wife. To this family." He tried to laugh it off, to say I was making things up. But the evidence was all there, and the people in the room started whispering. I turned to my daughter again. "You don't have to stay with him," I said. "You don't have to take this." And right there, in front of everyone, my daughter started to cry. Years of pain just pouring out of her. That's when I took my revenge. I told everyone in that room exactly who he was, what he'd been doing, and how he'd been using my daughter to boost his own pride. I didn't hold back every dirty detail, every secret he thought was safe. And by the time I was done, nobody was laughing anymore. People started leaving, muttering under their breath. His friends looked at him with disgust. And my daughter. She finally stood up straight, wiped her tears, and walked out with me. The next morning, she packed her bags. I stood there as she left him for good, head held high for the first time in years. And do you know what? He tried to come by later, to explain. But this time, I didn't let him in. I didn't need to shout. I just looked him in the eye and said, "You had your fun. Now, live with what you did." And then I closed the door. I knew it would take time for my daughter to heal. But that night, as we sat together on the porch, sipping tea, she leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "Mama, I feel free for the first time." And that was all the revenge I needed.